Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Community Engagement Podcast. Hosting today's show will be myself, Gary Bryson, and
Heather Bryson.
Joining us today we have Jos Wallace, who is the CEO at Central Scotland Adventures, and her husband Rab Wallace, who is a part-time instructor at the organisation. Jos, Rab, thank you very much for joining us today to talk about Central Scotland Adventures and the services that you offer. How are you both feeling today?
We're good. We are happy to be here talking to yourselves, and we're delighted that the sunny weather is coming back to us.
Yeah, great to be in the company of the legend who is Heather. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the night.
Jos, like everyone we've spoken to, set up their own charity organisation. The two of you both have a story to tell which has inspired you to create Central Scotland Adventures itself. But before we go through that, can you just tell us a little bit about the activities that your centre actually offers and who they're aimed at?
Yeah, so we're predominantly based as a paddleboarding company. You know, we both come from very humble backgrounds where we didn't really have much. And when we were out paddleboarding as instructors when we first got here, there's quite a few families and quite a few kids who couldn't really afford to do the activities. So we kind of thought to ourselves, we'll try and get a kind of part-funded model. We've got 2 neurodivergent children, autism and ADHD, and we struggled over the years to get them access to group activities. So kind of focused on the neurodivergent community, and both Jocelyn and I are army veterans, and through conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, we've lost friends, and we have friends who were able-bodied but are now disabled. So we kind of thought that we will try and have an organisation who can look after the disabled community. That's kind of really what we're all about.
Yeah, I know your centre is based at Auchenstary Marina, which lies between Kilsyth and Croy, but you mentioned that you also carry out trips across central Scotland. What's the purpose of these trips, and what do they offer that you can't do at your own base?
We teach the basic lessons down the marina. We've got the canal, flat water, protected from the elements most of the time. And what we try and do is we try and take people on a journey. I'll give you an example of one particular family who started paddleboarding with us. Basic paddleboarders, they had a dream and they booked a holiday. Dream was to paddleboard round Paris and Lewis, and they decided that they start off the basic lessons with us, and we took them on a journey from the basic lessons to a bit of family paddleboarding safety, and then took them on some rivers, and then took them on some big lochs and waterways and taught them how to paddleboard on their own independently. And I suppose getting photographs of the family paddleboarding in the sea round Paris and Lewis was just kind of the cherry on the icing for us. To go back to your question, what does it offer? It offers families and organisations who are around here who wouldn't normally get to see that, and they get to see the world from a completely different view. You haven't tried it, Gary, yet, but you will do. You know, we've got the biggest bits of water in the whole of the United Kingdom in such a small country. That's pretty much it, I suppose.
Yeah, I would resonate with that for our families and our children. We have worked hard to create a beginning base in Auchenstary down at the marina, but we say we want to take people on their journey. It's less about us, it's more about helping people so they can explore the waterways independently without us. Ideally, we'd love people to come for one lesson, be safe, understand how to keep themselves safe, and then go for their family and really enjoy being in nature.
So from looking at your website, I can see that you actively like to engage with individuals or families from difficult or vulnerable backgrounds and those with physical disabilities. What kind of benefits do you think these groups of individuals gain from the experience?
So one of the charities we work with, an organisation called Action for Children in Glasgow, they work with families who are in difficult and vulnerable conditions. Quite often breakdowns of relationships within siblings and within their own families, and children who just don't get on at school. So Jos takes the individuals paddleboarding and then maybe paddleboarding with a sibling, and then we grow that to paddleboard the siblings paddleboarding together, and then with one parent, then with 2 parents. And the model then is all about working together as a team. Some of these families, they really struggle to work together as a team because you've got families who are in working class poverty, mum and dad both working. Dad's a tradesman who's working during the day, comes in and does a handover with his wife, and his wife then goes out to do care work at night, and they just don't have the time. They can just about pay the bills, but no money to do activities like that. So organisations like Action for Children really see the importance in that and building back that family unit, but also then having children interacting with other families. Yeah, we've seen real benefits of that. And Joyce, you've got first-hand experience of that with the kids, some of the kids you take.
Yes, so having the experience of the military background has been our family for a very long time. And I'm proud to say that. And our sense of community is high. So we aim to bring that sense of community with us by presenting to families who may be struggling to help them reconnect together. And if we can do that using nature, even better.
So you sort of touched on what my next question was going to be. When you have individuals with additional learning needs or physical disabilities, what are the challenges that you've encountered, and are you able to work around these, or is there sometimes where you just can't?
Absolutely. The challenges are understanding the children's needs before they come, is the communication with parents, is communicating with the guardian at the time to say, how is everything today? Because remember, for an additional support needs children, it could be a good day and it could be a bad day. And it's up to us as the responsible instructors to make sure that we have a level of understanding for that day, because they can just get up in the morning, like we all can get up in the morning, and it can just be one of those days. And that's completely fine. There is no issue there whatsoever. But it's my job to then decide how long we're going to be on the water for, what level of appropriateness is there. Do we need to be thinking about fun games for distraction? Is there a good way to approach this today? And I'm taking guidance from the parents and the guardians and carers. I'm not making all the decisions. I am being led by the family because they know their person better than me.
It's a very good point, yeah.
So I've got a good example of where the British Sign Language Scottish Outdoor Activity Group, I got a couple of random texts from James asking to get in touch. He would really like his group to come paddleboarding, and I said, yeah, no dramas. I tried phoning him a couple of times but couldn't get through. At that stage I didn't realise that he was deaf. Eventually he kind of got in touch with us and he set up a meeting with us via his BSL interpreter, and he says, Rab, I'd really like to bring a group paddleboarding. Do you think you could cater for us? And he kind of put me on the spot. I think I was driving back from Haddington that night. So I said, you know what? I'm going to say yes, but I need to speak to the rest of my staff. So we got together and then decided how we were going to teach a group of deaf paddlers to paddle. So we sat down with the group. We kind of thought about our normal ratio. Legally, we can go 1 to 12. And so we decided we would try a 1 to 2 ratio. So one instructor to 2. James wanted a group of 10, so we needed 5 instructors plus 1 on the side. We then looked at how we were going to communicate with the deaf community on the water. So we devised some hand signals, we devised some communications. We thought that if somebody gets in danger, how are we going in trouble, how are we going to deal with that? So we issued them all with a whistle. But then we decided, right, we've got to put this through to practice before we take James's team. So we went out on the water with the instructors who were going to be involved that day, and we had a full session. We were teaching each other to paddleboard using no verbal communications at all, which was really challenging to begin with. But you know what? It kind of worked. None of us know BSL, but we taught each other how to paddleboard with 0 verbal communications, and we thought at the end of it, you know what? We reflected as a group. We learned from each other as a group, and we done it. And I must admit, it is one of the most rewarding sessions that we have ever done. They were a brilliant group, and they come back. I think we had 3 different sessions with them, and the deaf community now paddle with us socially as well.
They bring a beautiful dynamic to our social group. I absolutely am in awe of their abilities and their adaptability and their zest for life, because actually I almost feel like I take a lot of my senses for granted. You know, it teaches you a lot, and spending time with them, I get more from it probably than they do.
Heather, you've got some questions you'd like to ask, don't you?
How much does it cost to attend an activity, and do you supply all the necessary equipment?
Okay, so if you are a regular, able-bodied client and you are paying full price for a paddleboarding lesson, it will cost you £40. That's for about a 90 minutes to 2 hour session. For that, we will provide you with the wetsuit, we will provide you with the buoyancy aid to keep you afloat when, not if you fall in, and we will provide you with the paddleboard and the paddle for that session. You'll get full instruction on land, on water safety. We'll then take you paddling, and then we'll give you full water safety in the water during that session. The cost of that for a child is £20. And we don't really take children under 7 years of age because their kind of cognitive behaviours and their kind of understanding to follow instructions can be quite challenging. We do groups of adults, we do groups of children. We've also got a little scheme on the go, Pass the Paddle. Joss, do you want to talk about our Pass the Paddle scheme?
Yes, so for every lesson that is booked in with a full paying client, we will offset the cost for families who may be in struggling circumstances. And that's our way to give back in the community when we want people to be involved, we want people to be able to try this. And access is a huge part of that. And so when we talk about disabled paddling, we talk about neurodiversity, we also talk about monetary value. And that can be a barrier to people not getting a chance to try these things. And for me, that feels sad, especially when we know that 80% of the inland water resides up here in Scotland.
We do offer discount to groups. We take some local community groups and some charity groups. We're not a charity, we're a not-for-profit. Every penny of profit we make gets invested back into the company. Clearly, we've got staff wages to pay and we've got bills to pay. But everything that we've got in excess gets ploughed back in to enable us to buy more equipment. If we buy more equipment, more people can get access to our services.
Is it possible to rent out equipment?
Yes, it is. We will rent a paddleboard out to people who we know have come for a safety session with us. And we know that will be safe on the waterways. If they have had a lesson before with any other organisation, we will let them hire out a paddleboard as well. We're very conscious about our safety out on the water and promoting good water practices. That's why we've implemented something ourselves.
So we also hire canoes and kayaks and bikes. And a lot of people often ask us, do we need to have had a canoe lesson or a kayaking lesson before coming out with us? And we don't, because the likelihood of falling in of canoe or kayak is lessons falling off a stand-up paddleboard. Although we do sometimes get people who try and save their mobile phone and end up in the water from a canoe.
Also, we worked with a charity called Cycling Without Age Scotland. I run a chapter at Auchenstary and I'm a volunteer for that. And I will take people out on the trishaw bike, which is electric, and we can go and feed the swans and the ducks. And it's purely social and it's free.
Right, I didn't know that you did the bikes, kayaks and the canoes. And of course you've got the canal there, so we're better to actually cycle than on the canal. You can go for as far as you want, which is miles and miles and miles through realistically. Always you remember to turn back before you get too trailed.
So quite a lot of our bike hires will cycle all the way up to the Falkirk Wheel or the Kelpies. They'll come out and they'll hire the bike for the day. Sometimes they venture into Glasgow, but they tend to kind of follow the countryside. But yeah, I mean, our base, it was a complete action. We ended up here. You've got access to absolutely everything on your doorstep. The scenery is tremendous. We're right on the Antonine Wall. The history with that alone, and then you're kind of following the path of the Campsies and the Kilsyth Hills. It's a pretty tremendous place to work and live, isn't it?
We're also linked in with the Antonine Wall Society, who have recently built a children's play park down at Auchenstary Loch, and we have been involved in promoting use of the waterways.
What times of the year are you open? I'm assuming that due to the cold and freezing conditions during the winter months that you close.
So, for basic lessons, we tend to run between the beginning of April to about the end of October. It's all really dependent on weather, and you're very astute to pick that up, because if you haven't been in the water before, and you probably will do in your first lesson, you don't want to get in if it's too cold. However, the protective clothing that we provide you will keep you a little bit warm. So we stop the basic lessons about the end of October. However, we do continue throughout the year on some of the tours that you spoke about, Gary. You know, those individuals who were basic paddlers at the beginning of the year, they want to go on some expeditions. So we'll still take them on the rivers and the lochs through all the way through the winter. We do some social paddles in the winter as well.
Which brings me to talk about the access. Again, with winter paddling comes more kit, which means more outlay. And for a lot of people, that isn't affordable, it's not accessible. So we do keep paddling socially, but we don't expect everybody to be able to, to conduct that. So we often will go on a social paddle, but we're also very aware that some people will not go through the winter because they don't have access to the additional warm kit that they might need. But there's no judgment. We do everything that we do, we're doing to help promote safety on the water. So for us, it's not that we want to stop, it's that we think it's safer for everybody else.
How many staff and volunteers do you currently have, and what do they do?
That's a very good question, Heather.
Okay, while you're thinking about it.
It's a really good question.
Okay.
We have volunteers for our Cycling Without Age, for our trishaws. And we also have volunteers who come down to help us with equipment management. And we have freelance staff who come to do instruction for us. So we have 10 freelance instructors who we spend time with on the water. Every 3 months we take them off to somewhere really fancy, Lockhart or Loch Lomond, where we spend the day paddling and testing out the paddleboard and their skills.
Again, it's worthwhile talking about the volunteers and the staff. Without them, we would be very limited to what we can provide. All of our staff have kind of come to us because of our values and the share of values. They're absolutely hand-picked. We won't take any volunteers or staff who don't share in our values. They come from a variety of walks of life. We've got police officers by day, paddleboarders by night. We've got head teachers in schools, every walk of life. We've trained quite a few. If you were to go on social media and look at paddleboarding, you're going to get a picture of a kind of mid-20s girl or a mid-20s guy who have got, a really fit, slender body. We try to break down the barriers and try to break down that image, because that's not paddleboarding, is for absolutely everybody. And the way we've done that is we've trained up our son. We trained him up at 15 years of age as a fully qualified instructor. And then we've got an amazing instructor called Malcolm, who started paddleboarding at a quite senior age. He probably late 50s, early 60s when he started paddleboarding. And he's still in his early to mid 60s now, and approached Malcolm and says, "We would love you to be one of our instructors, because you're just the epitome of a paddleboarder, and you break down that image." So Malcolm thought about it, went away, done his instructor course, done his safety course, and he instructed and worked with us all of last year, which is amazing. Because when you get people coming to us in their later years and say, "I'd really love to paddleboard, but I'm too old," then we roll Malcolm out and they're like, "This is my instructor." And it's amazing, and it genuinely does break down that barriers. And our instructors are a variety of age, a variety of size, and a variety of ability. There's no elitism within the sport, certainly not within our organisation.
Our values set us apart from other outdoor water sports providers, and we're proud of that. We're not looking to be the best business model. What we're aiming to do is give people an opportunity to practice good water safety and know that they come to us without judgment. But they come to us and we open our arms and we say, "You're absolutely included."
I think it's really important as well, as to we're quite a young organisation, and we couldn't do this on our own. So we've collaborated with quite a few other water sports organisations, and there's an amazing organisation who we work with up in Perth called Willowgate, and it would be remiss of us not to mention Adam and Willowgate. We're really, an inspirational organisation who we've learned a lot of, and we share similar values to them. We've also learned a lot from other organisations who are not as quite inclusive, and it keeps us going in terms of what we should be about. We keep each other true, and again, I think that the value in collaboration is really, really strong because nobody's got all the answers to it.
We're linked in with a lot of mental health charities, Men Matter Scotland. We are linked in with Avalon Autism Support and Parental Respite. We are also linked in with Twecker Healthy Living Community Centre. They are only up the road from us, but they are much loved and much valued, and we love spending time with their youth. We're also linked in with North Lanarkshire youth groups. We've had many through. We do team building with them, spend the day. I've gotten to know quite a few of their little people, and they are amazing. There's my future leaders right there. I'm really, really proud to say that I've been working in the community with these boys and girls.
What we've not spoken about is the power of the water. And Jos mentioned earlier about how people kind of overshare. And it's almost like when we get some individuals who suffer from mental illness on the water, quite a lot of people with anxiety, and you can tell when they come to us, and we're astute enough to understand, you can tell what they're anxious about, or you can tell they're anxious and it's trying to kind of work out without being non-intrusive. And then you get them on the water, and all of a sudden, for whatever the magic is that's in the water, they just really start oversharing. They're telling you things about their life and their problems. And we kind of then, we're not trained in this. Well, Jos and I are from our previous military experience, from mental health first aid, etc. Because we're linked in with so many charities through this work, we've started signposting people. And Men Matter for a middle-aged man who's kind of suffering and struggling. They're my go-to, and I'll sometimes take them along because I know the organisation, and I'll give them the introduction. And they are the success stories that we've had out of that have been absolutely amazing. Yeah, they are we don't have favourite charities, but Men Matter are absolutely up there, genuinely are.
It would be remiss of me not to mention my wild women. Now, my wild women are absolutely amazing. They are a force for good. They want to inspire and create more wild women, which is why we love them so much. Rab's an advocate for wild women. He's their additional woman.
Well, I've got the badge.
Yep, it's got the hat, got the badge. And I'm really proud to say that we support them, and that I have signposted a lot of people who I know are interested in getting in a wetsuit and embracing the cold and getting into the water. The wild women absolutely support that. But they don't just support the mental health. They will do coaching and swimming as well. Again, like us, they will take women on the journey. They will start at, getting into the water, getting adjusted to the cold water. And then in the summertime, if you're lucky enough, if you want to, you can get away on a retreat in Mull, or possibly in the future, a trip to Harris or Lewis. Now, but that would be me giving away the game. However, they won't mind me saying. I like to promote all our links as much as I can because they support us.
Absolutely, every day of the week, both staff and volunteers. The more staff and the more volunteers we can get, the more people we can get on the water, which is what we're trying to achieve.
Are you currently looking for any additional staff or volunteers?
Yes. Again, it depends on the individual. Some people may just want to come down to volunteer to move kit. Some people want to come down and volunteer to kind of help us manage the kit. So ideally, they would be interested in water sports. And we've kind of got a wee kind of trainer package on the go. So if somebody comes in who's never paddled before, we've got a young lad at the moment who volunteered with us from Greenfield High School. He's 14 years of age. He approached us last year, had never paddleboarded before, but had done canoeing before, and wanted to kind of get involved with us. So we've kind of taught him how to paddleboard, and this year he'll hopefully come back with us again. And the Paddle Sports Scotland, which we're formerly known as Scottish Canoe Association, they will take you on an instructor pathway from 14 years of age. So we pretty much invest in them. We get something from them in terms of they help us out. And in return, we'll train them up to the standard where they can go and do their formal training and their formal assessments and walk out with a paddle sports instructor or leader qualification, get them on the pathway.
We also have had interest for somebody from college or university who would like to promote their portfolio, who would like to come out on the water to take pictures and would like to write a little bit about what we're doing. And that is absolutely amazing. We're looking for diversity in Central Scotland Adventures. It's great that we have people come to the water, but we would like to promote both sides. And if it's something that they think that they would like to do, we're there to help facilitate that too.
We're also really looking for volunteer trishaw riders. We've got one trishaw, which is available to take anyone of any age out on the bike 7 days a week. The only thing that prevents us taking as many clients out as we would like to is we just don't have the volunteers. So is any listeners out there who want to volunteer to ride a trishaw, to take some of their elderly, some of their young, some of their infirm relatives or friends out, then please give us a shout. And likewise, if you don't want to volunteer, but you know somebody who would benefit from getting the wind in their hair and getting a bike ride, then yeah, please look us up and Jos will take you out for a bike ride down the Forth and Clyde Canal and look at some of the wildlife.
But also, if you've got somebody who may have spent a bit of time in hospital and you feel may just need a little bit of socialisation and connection, also, it doesn't matter what age they are. It doesn't matter how long they want to come out for. It could be 5 minutes. It could be half an hour. I would like to facilitate that for anybody who would like to get outside.
I know that you have a webpage that's still under construction. Do you use any of social media platforms to share current events and news about the centre?
Yes, we currently use Facebook and Instagram, and we are aiming to, in the future, use other platforms with a bit of media guidance. We don't know if we're getting the balance right at the moment, but that's okay because we're still a growing and learning organisation. So if anybody wants to get in touch, you can email, you can text, you can call. And if we don't answer, please just know that we're on the water.
So for those that wish to book your activities, can they simply do so through your website, or do they need to email or call you?
At the minute, we have chosen not to put in an automated system on the website. That's very deliberate because we didn't want to take away the experience of connecting with people and understanding their needs adequately. So we have not figured out a great way yet. We're working on that for the future. We don't know what good looks like, but we would like to keep the interaction between our parents, guardians and families as close as possible.
I think the real reason that we've chosen not to go down the automated booking system is we've freelanced for other organisations and who are not got purpose for profit in mind. It's all about big numbers. It's all about making as much profit as possible. And when I'm talking about diversity of the groups, you can have a family turn up with 5 children, and then you could have 5 adults turn up on their own. We take safeguarding really, really seriously. So if we were to open it up as book as you like, we wouldn't be able to control who's on the water with each other. And that's kind of, there's a real danger there. You could put children and adults in vulnerable positions. So we can segregate. If a family's out in the water, we will not accept anyone else on that group. And the only way we can guarantee that is if we have got a closed booking system where people are going to book in with us direct. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, to be honest with you, based on our safeguarding policies and, keeping people safe on the water and keeping people safe from other people on the water.
So at the beginning, I mentioned that you were both responsible for the creation of Central Scotland Adventures. Starting up the charity itself, it can't have been easy. What sort of challenges did you face at the beginning, and have you managed to overcome them?
First thing was really, is there a requirement for what we wanted to do? There's lots and lots of water sports providers out there, but none of them really, certainly locally, who were achieving what we wanted to achieve. So we kind of took our kind of vision and values, and we've mentioned that before about the kind of groups that we wanted to support. And we had that in mind, and we recruited the right people, and we got the equipment. And initially we were going to just operate from our vans in the garage, and then we got an amazing opportunity working in association with an organisation called Outdoor Tracks. We'd done our research, and we, the local councillor, to ask, is there a need, is there a requirement? We don't want to create this business if there wasn't a need and wasn't a requirement. And, Heather Brannan McVeigh, Councillor Heather Brannan McVeigh, hopefully she won't mind me mentioning her name. She and the then Provost Jean Jones, they kind of really bought into our idea because of their values and their background and what the community has around here with the small mining communities. They're really tight-knit, and, there is a lot of working class poverty about. So we kind of got that up and running. We got the use of an amazing facility down at Auchenstary Marina. So we know we had certain types of clientele. The organisation Enterprise Scotland helped us set the business up. We're not business people. We've got a good heart. I sometimes call myself the worst businessman in the whole of Scotland, based on the fact that I give far too much away, but we've got big hearts. But then we wanted to really support the neurodivergent community and the disabled community, and we just didn't know how to reach out to them. So this is where the networking really came into it. So that was, I think, our biggest challenge, was hitting it and then thinking, we're not an expert in this field. We've got really big hearts. We want to achieve, but we're not experts, and we don't really have the pedigree. I think that's where Jos comes in with the occupational therapy students in the programme that you had running, Jocelyn.
Yeah. So we were approached by somebody who works in the NHS and somebody that was bought into the connection with blue spaces and mental health. And the approach was, do you think you have the capacity to undertake students on a placement? And of course, being a diverse organisation, the answer was yes. And our approach to that was, let's see how we get on, how we can help you, how you can help me. The programme run beautifully with having the students 5 days a week. I'm really proud to say that since the first programme, they're now fully qualified occupational therapists, and I'm really proud that we got the opportunity to be part of the students' journey, because obviously they're used to a hospital setting in the occupational therapy world, and it was an opportunity for them to break out and understand the additional benefits of being in a different area of the community where they could add value, or where they could signpost people on if they were interested in trying something different. And at the end of their 8 to 9 weeks, they then presented Central Scotland Adventures with their fact-finding studies. There was a paper written and a presentation given to North Lanarkshire NHS, and they're also their tutors, and the students themselves were from Edinburgh Napier University.
I think Jos had been quite humble in this. Do you remember the story I spoke about at the beginning, taking a family on a journey?
Yes.
The individual we're talking about was Claire, that was the mother of that family, who had realised the benefits. Claire suffers from vertigo and some anxiety on the water. And, she'd managed to go from being really anxious in the water and suffering from vertigo in the water to being paddling freely on the beautiful seas of the islands. So she recognised the benefits of that, and that's why she approached us in this area. One of the things that we're really keen on, because of the mental and physical well-being benefits from being on the water, particularly in paddleboarding, an area we want to really get into social prescribing. Are you aware of the concept of social prescribing? Mm-hmm. So this is where someone, it's an intervention where someone might not necessarily need a medicated intervention, or they might not need the intervention of the mental well-being services. There's just somewhere something that sits in between, maybe a bit of social anxiety, somebody who doesn't want to or can't leave the house because of social anxiety, and it's introducing them back into society. And again, paddleboarding is one of many activities that has got both mental and physical well-being benefits to it. And that's really what I want to be There's a huge strain on the GP services and the National Health Service. And if we can help individuals who don't need medication or don't quite need counselling, where can that middle ground? And again, I think that was the real benefits that came from the occupational therapy student placements, was they helped us realise it. We don't have letters after our name. We're not medical professionals, although I spent quite a lot of my military career in the medical professions. That's why I kind of understand that. And it's helped us on that journey.
I've got to assume that you both enjoy working at the centre, or why else do you do it? So what is it that you enjoy the most about the time that you dedicate to it?
It's seeing the changes in people's lives when they come down and they come with clear anxiety about trying a new sport, and to see them go from quite anxious or excited or both to fully fledged, embracing nature, trying a new activity, putting themselves out there. It then inspires them to go on in their own day-to-day life and achieve more.
For me, my favourite group up until last year, and I've still got a big place in my heart for them, is the neurodivergent community, the autistic community, who are just, they've got real struggles in life, especially our non-verbal clients. To see them grow, because they stay with us. They don't come in for one session. They'll stay with us throughout the season, and watching them grow. And now's probably a good time to touch on where my real passion is, and that's in disabled paddle sports. And it's paddleboarding for all. SUP for all is kind of our hashtag. And we had a vision when we first started off in year one. I had a vision that I was desperate to get a wheelchair onto a paddleboard. I'd seen it elsewhere, and as I said, Jocelyn and I come from the military veteran community, and we've got quite a few veteran friends who have lost limbs, double and triple amputees, and why should they not have the same opportunity as a non-disabled person? So we worked really, really hard in the winter after our first season, linked up with an amazing paddleboard company, Conks, and again, it's not free advertising, but Andy McConkie, who runs McConk's paddleboards, worked tirelessly with us. They helped us develop a paddleboard that would take a wheelchair, and it's landed amazingly, hasn't it, Jos?
Andy McConk shares our values. He's a social enterprise. He's family focused. He aims for social change like we do. And so the connection was there instantly. And the support that he's given to us is enabled us to move forward with supporting the disabled community. So I'm forever grateful.
I think the best example of seeing it really come to fruition was during our Avalon session last year, where there was about 27 turned up, and there was a little lad turned up in his wheelchair, and clearly he's turned up, and him and his family thought there's no way he was going to be included within this session. And everyone was getting, the instructors and the volunteers were there getting everyone ready. And there was a little lad looking quite sad in the corner in his own wheelchair. And I had the adaptive board set up already. And I went up and spoke to him. And I said, "You want to give it a go today?" And he was looking down at his wheelchair and he said, "It's not going to happen." And then I brought the board up and I took the adult wheelchair off, and we got his wheelchair on, and Mum and Dad were delighted. We couldn't get this lad off it all day long, genuinely. And it's like, that was real inclusion for us, because these were his friends who he was there with, but he wouldn't be included with that. And see when you witness that, and see when you see the joy it brings of someone who thought they would never, ever, ever be able to join in the activities with their friends, it's mind blowing, eh?
It is, and it's innovative. A lot of the stuff we do is innovative. We're aiming for social change with families. We're putting the value back into family time, family spending time together, connection. Everything that we talk about, everything that we're trying to do is about transition, connection, making sure everybody feels included. Inclusion is huge, and especially when we've got a world where you can connect to the internet in a second. But if we don't have that in real life, is it really in connection?
We had the initial static grant from Scottish Government, which we're hugely grateful for. That allowed us to pretty much double the paddleboarding fleet that we had. There's never enough money there. Because of our model, we're not a charity, we're a purpose before profit. And you probably ask why you're not a charity, Rab, because I don't want to lose control of what we believe in. You know, I've seen other charities being taken over and having a chair who's got different views and different values, and we've stayed true to it. We will stay true to it.
You mentioned at the beginning, when you first set up the organisation itself, you managed to secure a small pot of funding. As times went on, have you managed to secure other funding? Is it enough for you just now? Do you struggle with funding?
It's difficult. We do find that we have to really focus in to make sure that we are thinking about our set of mission and values constantly in our decision-making processes, because we are putting people at the centre of what we're trying to achieve.
So we've invested a significant amount of our own money in the business with zero return, apart from thinking back to, you know, some of the clients that we work with. There's one area that we could really do with help developing out and increasing, and that's the disabled access paddling. Again, for those of you in the disabled community, you'll appreciate more than anyone the disability tax, you know, that goes on to all of your equipment. There are things that we would love to do to move this on. We would love hoists, we would love lifts, we would love ramps, all of which it come at a significant cost, and we just don't have the funds to do that. It's an area of the business that we are considering moving the charity arm of, just because of the amount of money that it's going to take us to get where we would like to be, to open this up to groups of disabled paddleboarders rather than just one or two. So yeah, that's an area that we would appreciate any help in there if anyone's got some spare pennies that they'd like to throw at us.
So yeah, and lastly, what is your vision for the centre over the coming years? Do you have any plans that you'd like to share at all?
So there's no coincidence that we called ourselves Central Scotland Adventures and not Auchenstary Adventures. The vision is, you know, we give it the first couple of years, see how we do. We've got a good ground base here. We would love to expand our activities and our centres across the areas of Scotland that don't have the equivalent. As I've mentioned Willowgate already, the model's amazing, but there are one centre in one location. I would love to have multiple centres. At the moment, we've got ASN schools travelling from Dumbarton to us. That's all the way through Glasgow, all the way through East Dumbartonshire to get to North Lanarkshire. So we'd love to ink spot across the central belt of Scotland and have a couple of centres providing the same activities to the same groups as we provide at the moment.
Jos, Rab, you sound like you've got an absolutely fantastic vision for the business and business organisation, and going forward, I really wish you all the best with it. It sounds like you've got your work cut out as well. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the podcast. It's been really interesting talking to both of you, and we'd just like to thank you very much for the time that you spent to talk to us today about Central Scotland Adventures. If anyone would like more details or to get in touch, don't just leave us just yet. Contact details will be available on the screen at the end of the podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the podcast, and we hope that you'll join us again for future episodes. Until next time, it's bye from me, Gary Bryson.
And it's a bye from me, Heather Bryson.
Bye.
Bye.